Who's ready for the continuing adventures of hot sauce and gender?
I sure am. I sure am.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
All right. God, does this feel louder than usual to you? Good thing we have an audio console, so I could just change that.
Indeed.
So someone was kind enough to point out in the comment section that despite the fact that we were referring to Leon with he/him for a little bit there, Leon was actually not given a gender.
I see.
No one has referred to Leon with any particular kind of pronoun yet.
I see. A
So,
gender icon.
That's on us. That's on us. Although I do believe that Leon still counts as a bishy though. I stand by my choice with the for the bishy sparkles.
You can be an agender bishonen if you want.
Yes, as a treat.
As a treat.
Now we're just gonna wait awkwardly for Vivian to read her line.
Oh, it's my line. I forgot that we do that thing.
I can read your line if you want to. Here, I'll try it. I brought Willard's on.
That's weird. Why would you bring yourself?
Right? Maybe you should read your line then.
I brought Willard's son.
See, it wasn't so hard. Kinzo and Genji could be seen in the VIP room. Kinzo was sitting back in a chair, his eyes closed as though in troubled sleep. Master, where's those dreams that I've been after? That's a contemporary reference, actually. If you want to feel old. The guest has come to see you. Kinzo slowly opened his eyes. Those eyes were red from crying. They regained their focus and slowly fell upon Will.
I am Ushiromiya Kinzo.
So you say.
Well.
Yeah, that's me. Yo, I'm Willard. What's up? Allow me to express my condolences.
So, you came here to attend Beatrice's funeral. Just who are you?
You're probably a fan of my work, right?
What?
Cause he's a mystery author.
Oh!
The joke is that he's the mystery author. So
Right.
So, listen. I don't know how else to I'm just no one. I got no connections with anyone. Don't think too deeply about it. All right? You'll just get a headache. Ah! I put a splint on the toe.
I ask that you choose your words a little more carefully.
I'm pretty sure Leon said smile aloud.
Smile.
There we go.
What a strange guess.
Oh,
So?
do you have like a thing of like frozen vegetables or something, or just like an ice pack? Just even like a plastic bag with something in it right now. God damn it.
What business do you have with me?
I think you cracked the nail. I want to ask about Beatrice.
What?
Kinzo's gaze grew sharp. Leon felt a bit lightheaded and wondered why this guy had to be so direct.
Why do you ask? You're no one, aren't you? Why do you want to know about Beatrice? What is your purpose?
Because I'm no one. I can listen to your tale impartially and record it. You'll probably leave this world before too long. If you die without telling anyone about Beatrice, your children will adorn Beatrice with whatever tale they please, writing that into their memories.
You entertain me, boy. Do you plan on writing my will for me?
That's my name.
But
I'm not going to write myself. That'd be weird.
But that is none of your business.
Oh, well.
Beatrice is mine alone. No matter what other people say, no one can defile our tale. What they say is of no consequence. No matter how Kraus and the others misconstrue it, it will neither be painful nor vexing to me.
Willard-sama. The master is not fond of wills.
Ha ha!
He is not the sort of man who would abandon a task so that it might be performed after his life ends. Probably true. Thought it sounded a bit unlike you.
The ability to struggle on as long as we have life is what makes us human.
Which almost confirms that, like what we suspected, but like that pretty much confirms that he's not the kind. He didn't leave any of the breadcrumb trail stuff.
Mhm.
That was all created in his name after he was either unable to or had already died.
You think I would give up so soon and leave behind a will? How laughably absurd.
Dude, I'm standing right here. You don't have to. Not all wills, man. Yeah, that does sound a bit more like you. It's not your style to ask someone to write about the past just because you think your death is drawing near, right?
We know how deeply you love Beatrice-sama. You are the model most worthy of respect that any of us know, and an example for us to follow in every aspect of our lives. Please guide our wandering souls and tell us just how much you loved her, grandfather. How you were able to live through everything you faced because of her love. I only ask for you to guide us by showing us that love's strength.
Holy shit, you're good at that. Holy shit, you're pretty good at this kind of thing.
I spec'd into charisma.
Oh yeah, the only charisma build, huh? How's that working out for you?
Pretty well.
Actually, I can't argue with that. Yeah. I love it when the game is like exactly on or I'm on the game's wavelength exactly.
It's your fault for being so tactless.
What are you talking about? I got plenty of tacks right here. Thumbtacks. Kind of. This is Kinzo again.
Boy, what do you know of Beatrice? A truly ignorant person wouldn't even be interested in learning more. The mere fact that you know Beatrice's name shows that you are neither ignorant nor unconnected.
Well, I suppose that's a good point. The Beatrice I know of is the woman you love, the one you met before the mansion on Rokkenjima was even built. However, she probably departed from this world leaving behind a daughter. And that's the girl who was raised in Kuwadorian, right?
Oh-ho.
Willard-sama. There is no building known as Kuwadorian on Rokkenjima.
That name, Kuwadorian. You mentioned it when we were talking with Aunt Rosa, too.
So, okay, so, This is weird, because Kuwadorian would have been the place Beatrice, or that Rosa found that Beatrice, right?
Yeah.
That presumably would have happened before anything to do that would have changed the timeline and allowed Leon to come into existence.
It also seems that it does still exist, right? Because we got Rosa's story.
Right. So
maybe it's not called Kuwadorian here, or maybe it only becomes called Kuwadorian later.
Maybe.
That name, Kuwadorian, you mentioned it when we were talking with Aunt Rosa, too. What in the world does it mean?
You should have an idea by now. It's the name of the hidden mansion deep in the forest where his mistress's daughter lived.
Interesting. So, you actually know the name of Kuwadorian. Continue. You have sparked my interest.
Kinzo shrugged and grinned. The one living in Kuwadorian was probably Beatrice's daughter. However, it seems that you, at least, didn't think of her that way.
Oh-ho. Then how did I think of her?
As a vessel, right? As a vessel to which he had somehow magically supplanted the original Beatrice's soul.
Yeah.
When Ushimoya Rosa went to Kuwadorian, Beatrice told her a little about herself. Sorry, I'm allergic to people with the same name. In that conversation, she referred to you as Kinzo. It was the same as when she spoke to you directly. Though she said that she thought of you as a father, she didn't call you father. She either chose not to call you that, or she wasn't allowed to call you that. Telling me one thing.
And what might that be?
Reincarnation, right? You didn't think of your daughter as a child Beatrice left behind. You believe that the dead Beatrice revived into a new body. Genji? Once in the past, you spoke in front of Natsuhi and several other family members, stating that there was never a child between Kinzo and Beatrice. I have no memory of saying this. Of course, this game's Genji probably wouldn't remember that. However, near the end of the first game, when the survivors had all gathered in Kinzo's study, Genji was asked whether Kinzo and Beatrice had ever had a child together, and he denied it, saying, I have not heard of anything like that. It may have been a lie, but in a way it was a model answer for one of Kinzo's confidants. After all, in Kinzo's eyes, she wasn't a daughter, but Beatrice reborn, right?
Will.
Yeah, that's me. What's up?
I don't know what you're talking about, but I will not let you slander the family head.
This isn't slander, though. It's reasoning. However, I understand the heart. In your eyes, Beatrice was the woman you loved most. She made that way even after death, for all eternity, and without fading in the slightest. Doubt you thought of her as Beatrice reborn at the moment of her birth, though. However, it wouldn't be strange if you slowly began to wonder whether that child, whose blue eyes and beautiful blonde hair reminded you of a younger Beatrice, might actually be Beatrice reborn. Master, shall I drag this rude child out? Genji asked Kinzo. For a while, Kinzo hung his head in silence as though remembering something from his own past. Your daughter grew to be beautiful and nearly identical to her mother. You must have been ecstatic, right? However, I doubt you'd be completely satisfied by that alone. After all, though she was Beatrice reborn to you, she didn't think of herself that way.
How can you know that?
Whenever she was called Beatrice, she got this feeling that she couldn't shake away. A feeling like something was out of place. People never feel anything out of place about the name they're given at the time of their birth. However, she did have that feeling. That must mean that she was aware that the name Beatrice wasn't hers. In Kuwadorian, she asked both Kinzo and Rosa about who she was.
Who am I? Everyone calls me Beatrice. And that does indeed seem to be the name of a great witch, as you say. But that isn't me. I cannot use any magic. I simply have the soul of that witch sealed inside my body.
Her memory would have returned eventually. She must truly have been Beatrice reborn. Memory's coming back. Oh, this is Kinzo. Right, sorry.
Her memory would have returned eventually. She must truly have been Beatrice reborn. Her memory was coming back bit by bit. My magical ceremonies were helping her regain her memories, one little bit at a time. Head-sama.
Also, this is like another rendition of the do-do-do, do-do-do. Except very contemplative, I think is the way to describe this. Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
There's no need to be surprised, right? If you line up the information in all the games so far, this is the obvious answer you get. The high-level Beatrice talked about this. By metaphor, she said that Kinzo refused to let the witch's soul escape even after death, and it said caught it and locked it up in a body of flesh. She also said that her power and memory had been sealed. If you match that interpretation of hers to this theory, it all makes sense. And that's basically the theory we came up with.
Yep, sure is.
It's worrisome that Will is only so far saying things that exactly we've come up with.
Yeah, and that it's chapter 7, so there's still another one.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh fuck, is this the red herring answer? Did we find the red herring answer and there's a real one that's different?
I actually don't think that that's what's happening
Yeah,
here.
me neither.
I think that's just that there's additional layer of meaning to it that we're missing. Willard Sama. Thanks to powerful magical ceremonies, the master gained a reborn child of the dead Beatrice Sama. That cannot be denied. I won't deny the stork, and I don't intend to doubt the depths of Kinzo's love for this woman called Beatrice. How a man shows his affection for a child who's the only living reminder of her mother is no one's business. She grew to look more and more like Beatrice, and Kinzo's love gave rise to a new special emotion. I find that a very human reaction.
You think you can understand my love?
I can understand the little Pac-Man buttons on your shirt there.
I can't.
Waka waka, am I right? I'm not qualified to understand it. However, I'm also not qualified to deny it.
Oh, Beatrice. Did I do it right?
Yeah, you did it.
Please, forgive me.
The meme lords are gonna love that one. Kinzo sobbed quietly for a while, wiping away his tears. Because of love, he believed that she was Beatrice reborn and raised her that way. However, somewhere in his heart, he might have felt pangs of conscience, telling him that he might be forcing his emotions on someone who wasn't really her. Then, the Beatrice of Kuwadorian had an unexpected guest, Rosa. That woman simply couldn't believe that she was the Beatrice Kinzo desired. She couldn't stand the fact that she didn't understand who she was, and she wanted to escape to the outside world. Then, she fell from a cliff and died. Genji handled that death, which couldn't become public knowledge, very quietly. Funerals aren't for the dead. They exist so that those who are alive can sever their ties with the dead. You could never do that. That's why it festered within you.
Beatrice. Oh. Grandfather.
You lost your mistress's daughter. No, you lost Beatrice twice. Unable to let that sorrow show on the outside, you kept it locked up in your heart, and it eventually festered and turned into madness. That's what spurred on your abnormally strong interest in the occult in your later years.
Beatrice, Beatrice. Why? Why did you leave me twice? Your smile, that beautiful hair, those eyes. Why did you die in my arms, not once, but twice? Is that how much you...
By now, Kinzo wasn't even trying to suppress his sobs. He sometimes scratched at his head in anguish, sometimes faced the heavens like an opera singer. Kinzo yelled over and over again, repeating Beatrice's name. At that moment, there was a quiet sound of a door closing. When they turned around, she was already there. Kumasawa had appeared. Oh, well, if they already know that much, perhaps we can tell them to rest. Though, if they know that much, I don't believe there is anything more to tell. No, we should tell them. As a woman, I've always thought that the heart of Kuwadorian's Beatrice is a story that should be told. And now someone has appeared who is worthy to hear it. I believe that now is the time to tell all, without holding back.
Kumasawa-san, do you know something about Beatrice?
Of course she does. In the fourth game, we have testimony from the ferryboat captain saying that Kumasawa went in and out of Kuwadorian. Be willing to bet that Kumasawa had different work shifts at the mansion and at Kuwadorian. It was a young girl to be taken care of, after all. Kumasawa, with her long experience in taking care of children, must have been of immense value.
That's exactly what we thought.
That is exactly... Because that's what we assumed Virgilia to be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, are we going to have the payoff of Virgilia also being the previous Beatrice? Because there's import to her being the previous Golden Witch, right? There's importance there. I wonder... Because so far we've kind of glossed over what happened to the original Beatrice.
I don't think it makes any sense. I still don't think there's...
Will has said nothing about what happened to the original Beatrice so far in this story.
Yeah, I still don't think it makes any sense. The original Beatrice died.
We haven't... What I'm saying so far is that we still don't know. We haven't confirmed that in this part yet.
Yeah. I think that's what happened, though.
Okay. Might even call me her wet nurse. Ooh!
No way. I can't believe it. So, everything Will-san is saying is the truth?
Yes, it's a fact. A secret mansion was constructed on the opposite side of the island just for Beatrice-sama. Kuwadorian's existence is truth. I don't know when Kinzo married his official wife, but at that time he had already bought an enormous store of wealth and bought Rokkenjima whole. And then he built 2 mansions and set up 2 separate lives.
Kinzo's children had also been aware of Kinzo's clandestine eccentricities at the time. It probably hadn't been easy to maintain 2 separate lives. Moreover, Kinzo's wife had been suspicious and had sniffed around all the time.
The master stayed in Kuwadorian as much as time allowed. He would sometimes pretend to go on a business trip and stay there for several days, treasuring the time he spent with Beatrice-sama. It was not a father-daughter relationship. You could sometimes catch a glimpse of his great love for the dead Beatrice-sama, and it was a heartwarming thing.
Heartwarming is not the word I would use.
Right? I've got like red flags. The way you the way you say it makes it sound like you sometimes treated her as a substitute for the dead Beatrice.
If it sounded that way, my apologies. Beatrice-sama probably accepted her father's love. However, I will not deny that she was sometimes forced to bear a love that she didn't understand.
Kumasawa's tone made it sound as though she was scolding Kinzo. As a mother who had raised many kids, Kumasawa had probably spotted that Kinzo's love was sometimes misplaced. However, the more she grew to look like her mother, the more distorted and twisted Kinzo's heart became. Because of his deep love, it grew very, very twisted. And here's this part.
Yep, which is also what we thought happened.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of where we were. I remember when we started Answer Rocks, we were still on baby mill territory. And now we're more just like, no, it was probably just the one. But
You're right to scold me, my friend. I understand. My love is eternal and undying. However, I must acknowledge that I poured that affection onto the wrong person. Grandfather, wait, you don't mean...
Leon-sama, all humans in this world are tied to each other. Even if they do not notice, there is always some sort of tie. And those ties wrap themselves around people and bring them together.
No way. Grandfather.
just as Kinzo had done, Leon also wiped away tears and stared down at the floor. Apparently, the truth had been too much of a shock for the young successor to handle.
Just wait till the next truths.
Yeah, just... oh, Leon, buddy. just hold on a sec, dude. just hold on to your horses there, buddy.
Master, the time to speak has arrived, has it not?
I see. So that time has come, my friend.
Unless you tell us, none of the truth will become clear. Master, I believe they may have the qualifications and the right to know.
I know. Perhaps on this day of my fickle funeral, Beatrice in heaven has given me a chance to atone. Forgive me for not telling you this before now.
After taking a deep breath, Kinzo finally lowered the hands that had been covering his face and looked at Will and Leon with those red eyes.
Grandfather.
You ready, buddy? Here it comes.
You listen too, Leon. Guest. Willard, was it?
Yeah, that's me. What's up?
I thank you for giving me a chance to speak of the truth while I am still able. You must surely be a messenger from heaven sent by Beatrice.
Yeah, that's closer than you think, actually.
You have my gratitude.
Gratitude doesn't pay the bills, though. That'll be $20. Beatrice.
Do you accept payments in gold bars of suspicious provenance?
No, but I do accept American Express and MasterCard. I've got a chip reader. Beatrice isn't the one you have to thank. It was just a witch. Well, I guess they're both witches.
I do not care who it was. I have been given a chance. That is enough. Thank you, Willard.
Kinzo slowly stood up and held out his right hand. He was offering to shake hands. It must have been Kinzo's way of expressing his gratitude. Will responded. And then the two hands gripped each other tightly in silence. When they did, a bright light poured out from the gap between the two hands. Will felt as though something the size of a grain had burned itself into his palm. It was the power that Burncastle had given him. The light grew brighter and brighter. However, it seemed that Kinzo and the others couldn't see it.
Now I will speak. I met Beatrice. Beatrice Castillo. Italian Beatrice theory confirmed.
You were right! Holy shit! Holy shit, you were right! Oh, hold on. Hold on, let me look this up.
Clipping it.
Castiglione is an Italian surname.
Woo!
Wow!
Wow. Oh, that's awesome.
Sorry, high fucking five. That's amazing. I can't believe of all the details. That's fucking incredible.
The one that I fucking latched on because it was a really funny meme that I had no justification for.
I mean, the reason you latched on, because there were small things now and then we're like, oh yeah, I guess that would kind of make sense if she was Italian. Like pronouncing her name Beatrice, the weird references to Italian dishes over and over.
And the fact that the Italian language shows up a bunch.
Right. Like, it wasn't unfounded.
I fucking told you.
You are the smartest person on this scout.
Original Beato and Kinzo bonded over spaghetti westerns. Calling it. Wow. Fucking calling it. I met Beatrice Castiglione, just before the end of the war. She came from across the sea.
This is really fucking satisfying, you know?
Who the fuck is this?
Who the fuck are you? Are you Kinzo?
It's how grandfather looked in the past. I've seen photos. I've seen footage. I stay noided. Just what on earth?
Me too, bro. Me too. Is it okay if I still call you bro? I know you haven't got gender at all, but like... You right, pal? Come on, dude. You right, bro, Seth? It's the theater-going power that Burncastle gave me. Don't try to understand it, all right?
I'll just get a headache.
You're getting the hang of this. At one time, Genji told Battler that he looked like Kinzo in his youth. Sure enough, though the young Kinzo wasn't exactly the same as Battler, they too looked very similar. Oh, let me introduce myself again.
Wow, they even sound alike.
Are you okay with me taking him?
Oh, yeah.
Just for the meme? Okay.
That's incredible.
Wait, how do you know what Battler sound? You know what? Never mind. Allow me to introduce myself again. I am Ushiromi Kinzo, aged young.
Grandfather.
Even the voice.
We are just
we're on
slugging
a fucking
straight
roll.
home runs today.
We're batting
people.
1,000 tonight. This is fucking awesome. Even the voice seemed to resemble Battler somehow. Clearly, Battler had inherited Kinzo's blood more thickly than any other. I had no desire to succeed the Ushiromiya family headship. My being chosen as the head was nothing more than a prank of fate. In the Great Kanto earthquake, those in charge passed away and you were selected from the branch families.
That's correct. After all, grandfather was wise despite his youth. And he already possessed a dignity fitting for the headship.
That's ridiculous. Those greedy elders kept looking out for their own personal interests and couldn't decide on a new head at all. It was as foolish as arguing about who the new captain should be on a sinking ship. Since you had no connections with anyone in the main family, you were selected right out of the blue, huh? It's all because of my toes. If only I had one less toe on each foot, my life may have turned out quite differently. In the Ushiromiya family, polydactyly was seen as a mark of good fortune. After all, many of the great ones in their family history had possessed it. It was all very pathetic. The elders didn't care whom they dragged in as long as it wouldn't benefit any one of them particularly. They just happened to hear that someone in one of the branch families had 6 toes and decided that that would do well enough. Precisely. The elders didn't care what sort of novice became the next head as long as they could make him their puppet. In fact, the more this person was ignorant of leadership, the better it would be for them.
Grandfather.
Yeah, that's me. Yo, Leon. It's quite different in your case, though. You'll be the one who inherits everything I have. That is the fate you were granted on the day of your birth. That is why I gave you that silver ring and raised you so strictly. You are quite different from me. You are already a splendid successor of whom no one could be ashamed.
Yes, sir.
A puppet for a head. Yeah, that could have been easier.
Wow, what a bitter laugh.
I know, right? All of my emotions sound the same. I'm crying on the inside. As he pondered about where to begin, Kinzo laughed bitterly. It would probably bring back painful memories no matter where he started from. It lasted for so long, that span of gray days. That dizzying stretch of time that I spent dead, like moss growing on a rock. I became the rope at the tug-of-war between the elders who thought of nothing but their own profit, and I probably could have snapped at any moment. However, people are far more resilient than one would think. Though I spent many days as though I had been killed, I was not killed. So I was forced to search for death on my own. Before I realized it, I'd reached an age at which the young would laugh at me if I tried to call myself young. That dizzyingly long stretch of grey was left completely empty. It lasted for a full 20 years. In 20 years, a person can be born, find a purpose, and even become their own man within the place in the world. In short, if one truly becomes a human only when they have become a fully working adult, and I spent a period of time long enough to create a human, doing nothing but playing the part of those greedy elders' puppet. Ironically, though that time had aged my body, it did not age my mind. My mind alone was still as young as it had been during those rich, happy days before I was summoned to Odawara. And yet my body alone grew older and older. Eventually the vast gap between the two reached almost incomprehensible levels. So I could hardly believe that the worn-out man in the mirror was really me. No, it really wasn't me. The head of the Ushiromiya family was just a name. It had no power, it didn't require that I have any independence. There was no need for me to get involved with anything. I was just a doll sitting there on the doll rack, gathering dust. I remember nothing but lazily flipping through Western books I liked, locking myself up inside my own world, doing nothing but playing with roses and drinking terrible drinks. I don't actually like absinthe, by the way. True Kinzo fact, TM. I do it just for the vibe.
Yeah, he would. He would, though.
Yeah, he really would, though. It lasted a full 20 years. Before I knew it, I suddenly had a wife I did not know. It wasn't any wife I had chosen. It was the daughter of some noble family that the elders had chosen and forced on me for their own reasons. But that did not matter to me. I did not love my wife, but neither did I dislike her. I just didn't care. I fathered a few children, but that wasn't out of love for my wife. They were just born before I knew it. That's all there was to it. None of it mattered. No, that's not quite right. Everything was decided by someone other than me, and I simply obeyed. That was the job of the Ushiromiya family head. Yeah. On some level, I did feel as though I was being slowly and quietly killed.
I can't believe it. To think that you, the one who has been praised for being such a bold and wise ruler, lived life like that for so long.
Leon, there's nothing so long and faint as a life you do not live for yourself, and yet it slides on by in the blink of an eye. Do not forget this.
A life you live for yourself?
Living means having your own will, like me. You probably were dead during that time. Precisely. I wanted to live. No, I wanted to die. How can a puppet die?
By cutting the strings.
Correct. That would be death. And it would also be life, since it would mean being free. Before I realized it, trouble was brewing in the world. World War II, the Pacific War. Japan had extended their war fronts too far to the east and west, and the tide of war was changing. Thanks to the influence of the elders, I was able to avoid conscription. Of course, this was not out of compassion for me. It was because I was their precious puppet. So the war never really felt that close to me. However, when I personally decided to abandon their protection, it was very easy. At that time, the Ushiromiya family had almost completely collapsed, and since the elders had apparently gathered enough of the scraps to last them the rest of their lives, they seemed to care little for what I did, now that they no longer had any use for me. So I realized that I had finally found my time to die. One by one, I cut the threads I was hanging from, and I began to search for a place to end my life. So you search for death on the battlefield? I thought that if I was going to die anyway, I should try to be of some use to my country. No, that's a lie. I probably just lacked the willpower to end my own life. War was a suitable excuse for death.
I heard that grandfather had knowledge necessary for public works projects and construction, so he was tasked with setting up facilities for the Navy construction team.
And what a foolish mistake that was. If only I just said that I had no useful skills, I could have been sent to the dangerous front lines right away. So you didn't need to go to the front lines, huh? Some of the others were overjoyed at their luck. It was the opposite for me. I had only wanted to get drunk on the liquor known as dying for the sake of one's country. The US planes did nothing but cut across the skies of that forgotten island. They didn't even have a bullet to spare for me, much less a bomb.
Is this the time you met Beatrice, grandfather?
Correct. She came to me from the sea. Well, where did you meet her? You mentioned an island. Yeah, this island. That's where she arrived. So you met her here, huh? On Rokkenjima?
What's going on? I heard that Rokkenjima was uninhabited until you bought it, grandfather. I never knew there was a Japanese military base here, which SK called.
I told you.
I doubted you. I doubted
I
you.
fucking
I was
told you.
wrong. You were right.
High five me.
fives. You were so right. Damn.
Oh, that feels good.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I like
that we're both scoring points
Yeah,
too.
and nothing has come as a surprise. There are some background details that we didn't really
Yeah.
fully elucidate on because they didn't really seem that important to elucidate on at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But like nothing has come as a surprise so far, and that is highly encouraging.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could hardly call that a military base. It was just a cave. I was one of the guards of that cave. "1944.
I remember that date only because of the Sabaton song,
Yeah.
by the way.
Due to the honorable defeats at Saipan and Guam, Japan's absolute national defense zone strategy was in shambles. Where had the gallantry shown at Pearl Harbor gone? The old attackers were now the ones on the defensive. At the time, it was said that the last trump card for the Japanese military was a type of manned torpedo known as the Kai-10. It was said that these ultimate weapons, packed with 1.55 tons of explosives, were capable of sinking any kind of warship with a single blast. To strengthen homeland defense, the Navy drafted a plan to build a string of hidden bases from Hachijo Island
We're gonna come back to that later.
Yeah.
to Yokosuka, all to house submarines loaded with Kai-10 torpedoes.
So that explains where the hidden side harbor comes from.
Yeah.
The hidden side harbor is literally a hidden harbor.
I knew there was a Kai-10 base constructed on Hachijo Island. But was there actually one on Rokkenjima too?
What fool decided it would be a good idea to plant a base on this desolate island? To better preserve its secrecy? Ridiculous. I could never understand what the higher-ups were thinking, and I didn't particularly want to.
Wait. One thing that had just occurred to me.
Yeah.
Now that we know that they were explicitly storing bombs and stuff here, like there was actual ordnance on this island,
Yeah.
the Rokkenjima explosion incident suddenly takes on a different tenor.
Oh yeah.
It might not have been intended by anyone at all. Like we saw them moving fertilizer around at the beginning, right? And assumed like, oh, someone set up us the bomb,
Yeah.
right? That might not have been what happened.
Yeah.
Oh wow. I'm surprised I never made that last leap from military base to ordnance to explosion.
Yeah. They find the fucking gold. It's hidden in there. They celebrate and try to remove it. They accidentally set off the remaining explosives and blow the island sky high.
Jesus Christ.
Something like that. Damn.
The Kai-10, which could finish off a large... Oh, hold on. This is still Kinzo.
The Kai-10, which could finish off a large warship with a single strike, truly was an ultimate weapon. It was hoped that the presence of submarines capable of loading these weapons in the waters just off of Japan would allow for a powerful sea ambush as a final line of defense. So, to aid in the re-establishment of a base with absolute secrecy, the uninhabited island Rokkenjima was raised as a possible candidate. An investigation of the island resulted in the discovery of a large cave in the cliffs, and this was apparently deemed to be a suitable location for the submarine base. We did notice the cave in the cliffs.
Yep.
I don't think we connected that it was water connected, but we did notice the cave in the cliffs.
Mm-hmm.
So you were tasked with aiding in the establishment of that base, huh? Establishment? Certainly, if you can call digging out a cave establishment. Not only that, but the base was abandoned before its completion.
Why?
Because at that time, Japan no longer had any submarines large enough to transport a Kai-10 torpedo. How truly laughable. What's the point in having a submarine base if there aren't any submarines left? There's one thing that never changes, it's politicians and their meaningless projects. The base on Hachijo Island was outfitted with Kai-10 torpedoes, became a base for direct attacks, but Rokkenjima was never supplied with any. Okay, never mind.
Interesting.
Furthermore, the construction was eventually suspended, and a minimum number of men were stationed on the island waiting for orders from above that never came. Could the fact that it was actually a hidden base have sealed our fate? The higher-ups had already completely forgotten about this useless and pointless cavern. We were nothing more than guards for a mere cave. We spent our days farming, fishing, playing with the dirt, all the while gazing up at the American formations flying past. Some of our group were relieved at the prospects of the war ending before anyone remembered that we were here, and before any of us had to face a real battle. Of course, it was the opposite for me. I hoped and hoped for the American troops to advance and kill me as soon as possible. Those days were empty and blank. Let us go back. Back to the turning point in my life and my fate. The time that Ushiromiya Kinzo finally became truly alive. You best believe we're doing another chapter.
Oh, yeah. We can't.
Yeah, we can't. Let's just go. Let's just plow ahead here. Oh, it was only about
Time to meet Beatrice.
40 minutes long. Italian bit. So how was your Italian accent, by the way?
Very poor.
Excellent.
I don't know how to do one at all.
At least you know how to speak Italian.
I don't know how to speak Italian either.
You know how to speak German, though. Step it up. What are you doing? Slacking off when the fighting is so close. Oh, that was someone else.
Step it up. What are you doing slacking off when the fighting is so close?
Stars seemed to spin around inside my head. I could just lie down on the floor, but that would only make him more angry. I've got no intention of being obedient. Still, it would be stupid to get myself punched for no reason, so I got up and stood at attention. Ugh. The fighting's close, is it? You really think the American troops are likely to show up on this forgotten island? Then let them come right now. That's what I've been waiting for all this time.
What's this cowardly look you're wearing? Is this how afraid you are of death? Are you so scared of those Americans? You won't be killing any of them with an attitude like that.
Oh, bitch, please. I got hit again. Could you please quit your whining already? Filthy cowards. They let themselves be controlled by this inexplicable anger because it's the only way to distract themselves from their own fear. Heart and spirit aren't of any use when the battle becomes hopeless. When trapped by an insurmountable hopelessness, humans tend to rely on several other emotions to escape their fear. For these young, inexperienced soldiers, anger was a very convenient emotion to fall back upon. Anger is the wine they used to paralyze their fear. It made them chant, "Damn the British! Damn the Americans," as they swung their bamboo spears around and called it drilling. The more wine you drink, the more you need to drink to get drunk. Their useless anger continued to pile up day after day without pause. I did not fear death, so I had no need of the wine called anger. This made their cowardice all the more apparent to me.
What's that look on your face? Ushiromiya, you've lost your nerve down to your very soul. You're a fish, that's what you are. You've got the eyes of a dead fish.
However, it went both ways. Just as I was able to spot their cowardice, they were able to pick up on my lethargy.
Is Ushiromiya Kinzo here? The lieutenant's looking for you. Stand up, no slouching about. Double time!
There's that photo again.
Yep.
This is one of the ones that when they were in the tunnels.
Yup. Damn, I can't believe the tunnels are real. I was so convinced they were fake. I was wrong.
I'll take the feather in my cap on that
Yeah.
one. First Lieutenant Yamamoto was the commanding officer in charge of the Rokkenjima garrison. He was just another filthy coward trying to forget his fear with violence, and would often reprimand his subordinates for slacking off at the drop of a hat. Whenever he was in a good mood and started spouting off stories of his life, they were all about how much of a thug he had been, ignoring the rules of society. On and on about how so-and-so was a prick, so he taught them a lesson, or how everyone was so scared of him that he got special treatment. He kept on talking about what a vile human he was, as though it was a badge of honor. Normally I had nothing to do with this lieutenant who I couldn't respect in any way. He'd always hung around with his non-commissioned subordinates, so as long as I treated him with a snappy salute, I could more or less ignore him for the time being. Now that the construction project on this island has been suspended indefinitely, there is no longer any use for an engineer like me. So why did the lieutenant ask to see me specifically? At the moment I couldn't think of anything.
Ah, Ushiromiya, I hear you're good with foreign languages. Is that true?
I am proficient in both English and Chinese, sir. But not Italian. The lieutenant liked to brag about his education in front of the non-commissioned officers, but he held a bit of a grudge against me for being even more highly educated than him. Since he also felt uncomfortable about having a subordinate who was older than him, I wasn't exactly the type he'd be willing to confide in. Just the fact that I knew several languages must have hurt his pride.
What about Italian?
I don't speak that.
So, you wouldn't be much help as an interpreter between me and an Italian person, would you?
Oh, it should be possible if they can speak English as well.
Ah, yes, very true. Have you ever talked with a foreigner in English?
Well, I have. Why on earth would he need an interpreter in a cave on an uninhabited island that even our superiors forgot about? This question made it clear that some guest had arrived on Rokkenjima who would need an interpreter.
Good, Ushiromiya, you'll be my interpreter. That's an order.
So then I wonder if Beatrice... Because we talked about, like, the one thing I had against the Italian theory, right, was which side was Italy fighting on in World War II.
The Axis,
Right.
which means there's perfect reason for her to be here.
Right, that's true. Yeah, I guess that's true. So, but on a random island?
That evening I found out exactly what he was talking about. That pointless submarine dock in the cavern that had never been used was now being approached slowly by a submarine of the Italian Navy. Of course I knew that the Italians were our allies. However, this was the first time I'd seen anything from their military with my own eyes.
What was the Italian Navy doing here? Didn't Italy surrender in 1943? What's going on?
It was the Kingdom of Italy that surrendered. However, those who couldn't accept that surrender joined Mussolini and formed the RSI so that they could continue fighting.
The repetitive strain injury?
The Italian Social... the Italian Social Republic. Close, though. Also known as the Salo Republic. Oh, you know your history, huh? The ignorant often call the Italians cowards, saying that they surrendered first of the Axis powers in 1943. That's not true, though. The military of the Italian Social Republic fought bravely from the outbreak of the war until April 29th, 1945. And Berlin fell just 3 days after that. Far from being cowards, they gave one hell of a fight. Still, surprised the RSI Navy even had possession of a submarine that could travel all the way to Japan.
Even if they did, it's a surprise they'd come out this far at all. Why would they come to Japan? To Rokkenjima?
The submarine was both weather-worn and massive,
And full of gold.
and maybe full of gold. I doubt anyone had even imagined that a foreign submarine would come all the way out here, when we never even had one of our own submarines dock. All of the guards on Rokkenjima, of which there were only about 30, stood at attention as the submarine docked.
Never seen the Italian military before.
I heard a minor some accident trashed their sub.
From what I've heard, it sounds like their ventilator broke down and the cabin got packed with chlorine gas.
The lieutenant was hinting about there being something very important in there. Oh, right, that's a random. The lieutenant was hinting about there being something very important in there.
You mean like a code machine or the blueprints for some new kind of engine?
I have no idea. It's an enigma. I couldn't care less what they're carrying. I'm more surprised that the higher-ups still remember we exist.
Hurry up, Ushiromia. How are you supposed to interpret from over there?
Yes, sir. On top of that hatch was a young Italian saluting us. Normally this should have been the job of the commissioned officer, but his clothes looked like those of a sailor, and it really didn't look like he had the dignity and composure of a ship's captain. That probably meant that all of the commissioned officers in charge had died in the accident that had befallen this sub. Crew members crawled out of the hatch one by one, but they all looked pale and entirely worn out. I'm not sure how long ago the accident happened, but being crammed together in a tiny sub filled with chlorine gas for any amount of time can't be good for your health. Not only had the ventilators broken, but traveling about carelessly on the surface of the waters around Japan these days would be foolish in the extreme. It had been like a trip inside a can of poison gas. Almost all of them were unable to walk without leaning on someone else. Looked like a bunch of people staggering out of a hospital boat.
Ushiromia, ask them who the captain is. Tell them that I'm in charge of this island.
Welcome to Japan. Do any of you speak English? The crew members seemed to understand that I was speaking in English, but looked as though none of them could speak it. Eventually, someone who seemed to be dressed as an officer saluted. Welcome to... I'm not going to do that. Welcome to Japan. Are you the captain?
I cannot speak English. Please wait.
The officer answered in slow, laborious English. After asking us to wait, he shouted something to his subordinates in rapid Italian. It looked as though he was telling them to get someone among them who could speak English.
Ushiromia, what are they talking about?
They've asked us to wait, sir. They might be looking for someone there who can speak English. At that moment, I heard a high-pitched cough. It wasn't a man's cough. It was a woman's.
Hey!
Yo! Looking good, Beato!
I speak English.
As she came down from the hatch, a woman with beautiful golden hair said this in English. In this filthy cavern, the appearance of one as beautiful as she seemed like an angel descending upon us. Welcome to Japan. Is the captain there?
The captain is dead. That man over there is the only officer left.
My condolences. Can we do anything to assist you?
We'd like some fresh air and water. Some of us are still having trouble breathing. And we'd like a place to rest.
We would be happy to help. Do any of the others understand English?
The ones who did are all dead. I'm the only one left.
Ushiromia, what's that woman talking about? Who's the captain? That man from a second ago? Who is that woman? Get translating already, goddammit.
The lieutenant had been yelling like that for a while now. He must have been surprised to see such a beautiful woman appear from a submarine, and more than a little annoyed to see all of her attention focused on me alone. It was a mark of how divinely beautiful she was. Sir, it seems that she's the only one who understands English. She will act as their interpreter. Their captain is dead. That officer seems to be acting in his place.
Who's that loud man who keeps yelling at you? Don't tell me he's your superior.
Unfortunately, he is. He probably doesn't like seeing me have such a beautiful lady all to myself.
Oh, I didn't expect flattery from an Asian. Your English is superb. I imagine you've been brought up very well, unlike that rude man who keeps on shouting. They should have made you the officer in charge around here.
You know what we forgot to do?
Huh.
Huh. Huh. Yeah? Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, aside from the bike pump problem, yeah. Oh, and I never expected flattery from a Westerner.
You're an interesting man. What's your name?
Ushiromia Kinzo. If you don't mind, may I ask for your name as well?
Beatrice Castiglione.
Welcome, Beatrice. Welcome to Japan. That was when I first met Beatrice, the woman who would capture my heart for the rest of my life.
So, Beatrice was an Italian. Hold on. Blast the air horn, screen cap that.
Hold on, I'm taking a screen cap right here.
Oh.
I can crop this later. Boop.
Can't fucking believe it.
I can't fucking believe it. That's still really... Oh, that's too good.
Yes. She was the daughter of a high-ranking RSI official. Apparently, their most important cargo was her father himself. Sadly, he had already died by the time they reached Rokkenjima.
Well, why would a high official like that come to Japan, huh? Saying he went through the Suez Canal and crossed the Indian Ocean to come all the way over here?
That's a good point. If they wanted to reach one of their allies, Germany should have been much closer. So why would they make the long trip to Japan? It may have been part of some grand, outrageous strategy. I don't know all the details, but shortly after I learned that this submarine's mission was far from a minor one.
They said that there had been about 60 of them at the time of their departure. However, only about 10 of them, including Beatrice, had survived. Their submarine had apparently hit a mine or something in the nearby waters and sustained a great deal of damage. They told us that it flooded rapidly with water, which had taken out the batteries and released a large amount of chlorine gas. The sub had become completely incapable of continuing further, nothing but a massive lump of metal floating by the dock. Since the sub seemed to be carrying something of immense value, the higher-ups ordered us to investigate. To question the Italians, with Beatrice and me acting as double interpreters, we concluded that this thing of immense value must have been her father himself. Apparently, Beatrice's father was extremely high up in the RSI hierarchy, and it was thought that he might have worked alongside Mussolini himself. Though their massive voyage had apparently been part of some top-secret mission, now that the man himself and all of the commissioned officers had died, their reasoning for coming to Japan remained a mystery. And our higher-ups were telling us to investigate, which meant that even they didn't know what it was. Their ship had broken down, the mission was unknown, and the high official they had been carrying was dead. And even the Japanese government didn't know why they were here. The Italians' great and perilous voyage had come to a meaningless and utterly fruitless end.
That's a relief. I always assumed the seas of Japan would smell like soy sauce.
Nah, only after sushi Sundays. What a coincidence. I always thought that Italians had hair made of pasta. Yep, not pasta.
Oh.
Definitely not pasta.
Of course we do. You don't know how hard it is to get that perfect al dente texture. I imagine you Japanese all wear spaghetti al nero.
Oh, I see you've done your homework. In Japan, we use squid ink instead of shampoo.
These two are such dorks.
I know! They're such fucking dorks! Oh, God!
You really are amazing, Kinzo. It seems you know everything. Have you ever been to Italy?
Never. I've read a lot of books, though.
An Asian man reading Italian books? Wow, what kinds of books?
Oh, Niccolo Machiavelli and Dante Alighieri. Yep.
Yep.
So I know, of course, that you are the Eternal Lady.
Oh, what a surprise. You must be quite the bookworm. Does this mean you came from some Japanese noble family?
Well, who knows?
You're completely different from those other savage-looking Japanese soldiers.
Careful there, that'll get you canceled in 2022.
I can tell. You must have come from a noble family. Are the Ushiromiya some sort of Japanese aristocrats?
Of course not. They just managed to strike it rich in the spinning industry in recent generations. I didn't study all that as part of some noble's hobby. I just did it because I wasn't allowed to do anything except read, play around with roses, and get myself drunk. Explains why he likes roses so much. Also explains Rose's name, doesn't it?
Yeah?
There had been no trace of malice in Beatrice's words. It had just been a curious question asked to a friend from a faraway country. However, Beatrice was from a noble family herself, so she could tell. She could see the faint, gloomy look on Kinzo's face.
Forgive me, Kinzo. I didn't stop to consider why a high-class person like you would choose to take the position of a common soldier.
I don't give a damn about my family line. When I die, the name Ushiromiya will have no hold on me. Then, I will finally be free.
So, you joined the army because you wanted to die? You mustn't do that. Stop that.
Fuck you.
Your family would be so sad.
You're not the boss of me. I wonder, do we get tips for...
Oh, we must. We must. We haven't.
We don't.
Interesting. We will. Oh? Wait, if we click him again, will he change? Maybe he'll show up later.
Family, huh? I have no family. I have a wife for the sake of public appearances, and children. However, I never wanted any of them. Everything is a fleeting daydream created by those selfish, greedy elders. So at least while I'm on this island, I can forget about all of that and find some peace. Peace? But haven't I spent each and every day complaining that I wasn't sent to the front and haven't managed to die yet?
I can't understand the pain you're going through, but I do recognize that my thoughtless words have hurt you. Forgive me, Kinzo.
Forgive me, Kinzo. Yes, those words are probably what did it. All of the Japanese called me Ushiromiya. It reminded me that I was the property of the Ushiromiya family every time they talked to me. But she was different. She called me Kinzo, not Ushiromiya. So maybe, just for the time I chat with her like this, I can forget that cursed family.
Kinzo.
Yeah, that's me. I hadn't meant to make Beatrice feel guilty, but she seemed certain that her thoughtless words had hurt me.
Thank you. Oh,
Thank you.
huh?
Since you always call me Kinzo, I finally feel like I'm my own man. I think that I finally met a person who truly sees me for who I am.
Kinzo, you may be a foreigner I met in a distant land, but I can tell that your heart is sensitive and beautiful. If we had grown up in the same neighborhood, I'm sure we would have become fast friends. I'm happy too. You always call me Beatrice, not the daughter of the Castiglione family.
We were both in the same position. Her Castiglione family must have been a rigid place as well. Though we came from different countries, we had finally found something that we both understood.
Do you have a nickname that people close to you use?
No, they usually just called me Kinzo.
Well then, you should stop calling me Beatrice. All of my close friends used to call me...
Biche?
Biche? I'd like you to call me that too.
All your close friends used to call you B-Ice? Gonna drop a hot new record? Sound of the Summer? 1980... What, 1944? Well, very well. From this point onwards, allow me to call you Biche as a sign of our friendship.
Ah, come on. Don't be all stiff like that. We're already friends, okay?
A bright smile stretched across Beatrice's face.
No matter how many decades pass, that smile will never fade from my memory. So, by meeting Beatrice, you managed to regain your sense of self.
Sounds kind of codependent, bro. Not gonna lie. Or as most people would put it, he cheated on his wife. Ah, fuck. Come on, dude. Oh. Hold on, is there a first aid kit in here? Come on, there's gotta be, like, something. No? Ugh.
If you plan to continue being rude, I suggest you get in the habit of covering your butt.
After having his butt pinched once more, Will hopped around in pathetic agony.
So, in your eyes, grandfather, Rokkenjima was always special because you first met Beatrice here. Indeed. If I had never come to this island, I would never have met her. It truly is an island of miracles. Was there anything left of that submarine base today? Yes, it's still there, near Kuwadorian. It's in the shadows of a cove that can't be seen from the outside. After all, fishermen never approach this supposedly ill-omened island. It's unlikely that anyone besides me still knows of its existence.
Was the 2-kilometer-long underground passage between Kuwadorian and the mansion a remnant of that base?
That is correct. You fucking called it.
Yep, told you, the tunnels.
Yep. There was some nonsense about fortifying several locations across the island and connecting them with tunnels carved out of limestone caverns. I made use of that underground passage and built 2 mansions, one at each end of the island. 2 mansions? 2 families. Maybe more. The Ushiromiya family mansion and a mansion for the Kinzo released from the shackles of the family. Correct. It was something I needed. Another place for me to escape from the cursed name of Ushiromiya.
Still, I do feel bad for you. It must be awful to have come all the way out here and be unable to fulfill your mission.
I don't really know what Papa's plan was. He said we needed to run far away, to hide it, until the time came.
And what is it?
I don't know. It was something very important, and he plans to hide it for many years until the right moment. Oh, and he plans to hide himself along with it. I know because he apologized to me for sending us to live a long time on foreign soil.
Didn't that second lieutenant of yours say that you had no cargo in particular, and that you were transporting your father instead?
Lieutenant Angelo doesn't trust you or the others. Even I know a few things he's kept hidden from you. He might even know what Papa's goal was and what the cargo is.
Well, whatever it is, that's a mission for the Italian military. It has nothing to do with us. After all, we're allies. We should be able to trust each other.
I have no doubts that you're a good person, Kinzo. I even told Lieutenant Angelo that you're a man we can trust, but why is it that men always get so rigid and uptight when they're in a strange land? Normally, they're all very bright and cheery people. Ever since we came here, there's been this strange feeling of tension. Lieutenant Angelo has ordered that his subordinates be armed at all times. It's almost as though we're in enemy territory.
That was true. The Italians were clearly the very opposite of relaxed. The Japanese soldiers watching this began to suspect that the Italians didn't really trust them at all. Well, that's normal for a soldier. This is precisely the time for them to straighten up their guard so they don't embarrass themselves in front of a friendly army.
They have a person stand watch every time they sleep. And they're still keeping a lookout to make sure none of you approach the submarine, even though it's nothing more than an unusable scrap heap now. It almost feels as though they're clearly prejudiced against the Japanese, and that bothers me.
True, they had set up a constant sentry by the submarine and had refused to let any of the Japanese soldiers come near. This had made the Japanese particularly happy. However, submarines are treated as classified in all countries. Maybe it was just natural for them to stop foreigners from approaching it without reason. Well, they're probably uncomfortable with being made to live in a way that they aren't used to. The boat that's supposed to take you back to the mainland is still being delayed by weather and problems up the command chain. Just how long will it take before they can send you there? We had been told that a boat was being sent for them directly from the mainland. But apparently, thanks to the weather, problems up the command chain, and their recent air raids, they had no ships they could spare on a forgotten island like this. There may have been political issues as well. After all, the Italians' homeland had already surrendered to the Allies. I didn't know the details. The only thing I knew for sure was that they'd been stuck on Rokkenjima for 2 whole weeks, and no one had come to get them. Of course, we had some small boats on Rokkenjima. There was nothing physically stopping us from taking them to a nearby island. Still, Rokkenjima was technically a top-secret base, and contact with the outside world had been strictly forbidden.
Well, there's nothing we can do about it, and it isn't all that bad, really. After all, if a boat did come for us, I'd probably never see you again, Kinzo.
Well, that's true. To me, those 2 weeks were the first I'd ever truly lived. The faint 20 years before all seemed to vanish in the sparkle of that pair of weeks. I realized that she'd have to leave this place eventually. And yet, the single moment felt so rich and dazzling that I felt myself wishing it could last forever. And then I heard a voice calling for Beatrice in Italian. It's Lieutenant Angelo. Looks like he wants you for something.
Probably to scold me.
It's weird seeing that face. It's weird seeing Battlers and Beatrice's face on the. It's so weird.
These days, he keeps yapping on about how I shouldn't get too friendly with the Japanese soldiers.
The second lieutenant approached, saluting Kinzo. Oh, this is weird, but I'm gonna stick with it anyway. And after glancing at Beatrice as though asking her to translate something, he began to speak in Italian. Judging by his tone, it sounded like something serious.
Lieutenant Angelo has something very important to say, so he wants to talk with your commanding officer. He wants your help with something. I don't know what.
Oh, something important. Got it. I'll go find Lieutenant Yamamoto. Lieutenant Angelo had 2 of his subordinates with him and I don't know how to read, I'm sorry, and wore a stern expression on his face. They didn't have to say anything for us to realize that this had to be something very, very serious.
That's it. Lift it up.
The winch creaked and the thick chains rang out with a dull clang. Very, very slowly, it was lifted up out of the submarine's cargo hold.
Now I get it. So this is why those Italians didn't want us near their stuff.
The first lieutenant and the others looked up at what the winch was slowly lifting up, all of them wearing unpleasant, forced smiles.
Unbelievable. So this is what Papa brought all this way?
Incredible. I've never seen anything like this. It's a picture of an ape, but it looks automatically generated? You say there's how many of them? Wow! 1 billion? It's completely worthless! It was a mountain of gold ingots. Those carefully piled bars were being slowly lifted out of the cargo hold, one group after another. This gold had been their true cargo. I don't know where they were planning to take it. They might have been trying to sneak it into Japan, one of their allies, or they might have been on their way to hide it in some remote area. Could you do me a favor while I'm narrating and look up the meaning of the name Beatrice's last name?
Sure.
Just because I'm curious, I wonder if this gold is already stamped, and if somehow the one-winged eagle is related to their family name. Was it some sort of strategy? A conspiracy? Embezzlement? Top secret transportation of wealth? This incomprehensible amount of gold led to all sorts of dark suspicions, but we didn't know anything about the truth. All told, the gold weighed an incredible 10 tons. That was the only truth that we could wrap our minds around at the moment. They had strongly resisted showing this to us. However, the submarine could no longer make sea, and it was apparent they continued to take in water bit by bit. Rokkenjima had been outfitted in an extremely slipshod way, so we had no means of repairing it. Although we could unload the sub, there was no way we'd be able to lift it up again once it had filled with water and sunk to the bottom. Now that transporting the gold away had clearly become an impossible goal, we'd apparently decided on unloading it. Of course, they made no effort to explain the reason behind all this gold. They just asked us to help them take it out.
It's from the medieval Latin castellio, meaning fortification or small castle.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, that fits. Why would they take so much damn gold out of the country? Couldn't they have just changed the course of the war with this much wealth?
Weapons change the course of war. But after the war, they aren't useful for anything. Money can also change the course, but it remains just as valuable after the war.
Oh, well, wait until I tell you about the military-industrial complex. What is this after the war you're talking about? There is no longer any way to change the course of this war. The Axis powers will probably all surrender, leading to an Allied victory. Anyone could tell that simply by looking at the American planes flying across the sky day after day. However, gold does not lose its value after war. Gold has intrinsic value, after all. Everyone stared upwards, dumbfounded, as the winch slowly lifted the dully sparkling gold. Damn.
Damn indeed.
This fucking game.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm feeling really good about this so far.
Oh, yeah.
Because I so far, I don't think there have been no surprises. Like, there have been some details and stuff that we weren't able to suss out, but make complete sense, you know. There's nothing that we are being blindsided by, and I think that's good, because I think that means we've done enough of the reasoning and researching and to like, have this full image already.
We didn't stop thinking.
Exactly. So, we'll see you next time if you want to have more Umineko, which I think you do. You probably do. I mean, you're on episode, like,
a billion.
72, I think, of the full series. I lost count at some point, but yeah. Hopefully you're still in it to win it. Anyway, we'll see you all next time.
Ciao.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.